Hello, and welcome to our webcast for October 20, 2017. My name is Christian Debré, and this is Amy Asbrook, the director of Toujours Vivant Not Dead Yet, and with us, this is Taylor Ayat-too. Okay? Taylor Ayat is the outreach coordinator and policy analysis with Toujours Vivant Not Dead Yet. Toujours Vivant Not Dead Yet is a non-religious organization by and for people with disability and our allies. Our goal is to inform, unify, and give voice to the disability rights opposition to assisted suicide, euthanasia, and other ending of life practices that discriminates against people with disabilities. Today's topics: review of Canadian disability legislation, review for Alberta. We have done three other provinces since the beginning. Okay. The second subject is the second interim report on Made in Canada released.
Medical aid in dying.
Medical aid in dying. Made, yeah. It's completely made for nothing.
Right. Thanks. All right. Review of Canadian disability legislation, Alberta. Welcome to part 4 of our series, reviewing disability legislation in each of the provinces. We've already done Quebec, Ontario, and British Columbia. Today we'll be taking a look at Alberta. The province does not have one comprehensive law granting civil rights to people with disabilities.
Oops, it's weak.
Yeah. Instead, several laws and regulations providing services address some of the needs of disabled Albertans. So some services are available, but there's no laws guaranteeing civil rights. The province's Persons with Developmental Disabilities program pays for personal assistance for adults with acquired intellectual disabilities before the age of 18.
So the development stopped at 18 years old.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
You stop growing, and so any brain injury, they don't qualify.
Oops.
So services are provided in 4 areas: community living, such as meal planning and housekeeping; employment; access, which includes volunteering and clubs and sports, so being involved in community activities; and specialized community supports to cover short-term emergencies. So if your home health aide, the person that usually takes care of you can't be there, then they'll cover you for a short term. The Alberta Home Care Program provides help for people with severe mobility limitations with personal care.
What they call severe.
Yeah. Well, generally you have to be using a wheelchair, I think.
Okay, if it's severe, it's kind of okay. But if you have to be in bed and not moving, it's not the same thing.
Right. With personal care that the client either cannot do themselves or cannot get help from another person, like family or friends. So if you can't do it yourself and you can't get somebody in your family to do it for you, then you would qualify for the program. But you have to exhaust all your options.
So it's very, very, very weak.
Right, and the idea of home-based services is supposed to be to make it possible for people to live independently and manage their own lives in the community, not to have to depend on
your family.
Yeah. So much for that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Services include bathing, toileting, dressing, wound care, and feeding. Some like housekeeping, like sweeping floors, taking garbage out, setting up the dishwasher, and doing laundry is also provided.
It's not so bad if it's provided.
Right. But generally you have a certain number of hours for services, and you have to prioritize the services that you get in that time. And oftentimes those other things get lower priority and you don't have time for them because they don't really give you as much time as you need. The services available depend on the health zone where the person lives. You can only have services located within an hour of your home. If you're out of your zone for longer than 30 days per year or 2 consecutive weeks, your file can be closed.
There's no wrong to handicap people to travel.
Right.
You are just imprisoned in Alberta.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a huge violation of your freedom of movement.
Yeah, exactly. You know, disabled people don't want to travel. They don't want to do anything.
Oh, yeah. Nobody handicapped doesn't want to travel.
I think maybe the proper stereotype is not, doesn't want to, can't.
We doesn't hear you, Taylor.
I think a more accurate version of that stereotype is not, I don't want to travel, it's, I can't.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, handicapped people can travel. Since the electrical wheelchair was perfected and work well now, handicapped people should be able to travel almost anywhere.
Right, but there's a lot of transit that's not accessible. So there's a kind of a conspiracy to make it difficult to travel. And also air travel is very risky with an electric wheelchair. They often destroy people's wheelchairs.
Yeah.
So.
But.
Yeah, which is why I never.
This law just destroys any means of traveling.
Right, right. Okay, the Service Dog Act and Blind Persons Rights Act allow people with certified guide dogs and service dogs to access all public places in the province.
It's kind of a minimum of minimum.
Right.
A service dog should go anywhere.
Right, but people still exclude folks using service dogs all the time. The Alberta Housing Act allows nonprofits to receive subsidies for the development of specialized housing to meet the needs of people with disabilities, victims of people with disabilities, victims of domestic violence, people at risk of homelessness, and those with substance abuse issues. So for all of those populations, somebody can get a subsidy, but generally...
You could get a subsidy. That's the bad thing. Yeah. An entrepreneur doesn't want, small and medium entrepreneur doesn't want to do that because any communication to a government is very, very, very difficult, long and painful. And most of the time you use to get the subsidies, you lose it on the time, right. So it doesn't worth anything.
Right. There's no, you spend more time than the subsidy is worth.
Yeah.
So.
And wouldn't those subsidies result in segregated housing too?
Generally, yeah. Because they're supposed to meet the special needs, quote unquote, of those populations. Whereas a rule that says when housing is new housing is built, a certain percentage of the units have to be accessible, that would create a more integrated housing stock. That would be good.
Yeah, and cost not much to construct.
Right, so if they were building luxury housing, there would be a certain amount of accessible luxury housing. If they were building low to middle income, there would be a certain amount of accessible housing there, not just segregated and, yeah. The Residential Access Modification Program allows low-income people with mobility impairments to modify their homes for easier access. Grants of up to $7,500 per year are available, or $15,000 over 10 years.
Whoops. The first amount is very generous. The second one is a lot less.
Right. Basically, they're saying 2 years. No, it's 10 years. So you better not have any needs for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
This applies to homes that are owned or rented as long as the tenant gets the landlord's approval. However, the landlord may refuse permanent adaptations and allow a temporary ramp, porch lift, or stair lift instead.
Oops.
Yeah, and
not good.
Landlords often require that you remove the adaptation before you move out. So
So the number of adapt housing never grew.
Right, exactly. Because they say it lowers the value of the housing.
Which is not.
Right. The Disability-Related Employment Supports Program offers a variety of resources for people who are in school looking for work or currently working. Assistive technology like screen readers or digital recorders, for example. Also adaptive workspaces like widened doorways or adjustable desks, and modifications for work-related vehicles. So those are some of the things that you can get to support your working. And again, it doesn't include, for example, if you need to use public transit to get to your job, there's no support for that. But there you go.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of the worst we have seen. Yes.
Well, yeah, there's not much in the way of civil rights here.
Yeah. Yeah. The civil right for everybody. What is called again? It's the Chart of Civil
Charter
Rights.
of Rights and Freedoms.
Yeah, is applied to everybody, but it's kind of, when you look to handicapped people, it's kind of, oh, we forget that it exists.
Right, because to make things accessible, to make that a reality for disabled people, there needs to be some affirmative steps taken to make things accessible. And these,
Right, it's not
without a law, there isn't going to be those affirmative steps.
Yeah. So if we want something happen, one of handicapped people in this province should sue the government, and at the reaction of the court, it may be that
Tu es un peu coupé par le... Tu devrais te mettre plus à côté de moi.
okay.
Okay. Individuals with disabilities can also receive provincial income supports up to $1,588 per month through the Assured Income for the Severely Handicapped program. So that's an income subsidy, and that's good. Whether it's enough is, considering the price of, the cost of living is pretty high in Alberta, that's hard to know.
Yeah.
Finally, the Premier's Council on the Status of Persons with Disabilities, established by law in 1988, is made up of 15 volunteers who advise the Premier about opportunities for, quote, full and equal participation, unquote, of disabled Albertans. And I looked at the statute, and it doesn't require that a certain number of them be disabled. It just says that there should be some disabled people or family members. So it doesn't
So the
even,
committee could be
they
could
could say
be,
2 people, disabled people, and that would be enough.
so it's not really representative of handicapped people.
Wait, we don't know. We can't know.
But probably because the member of industry will be there, be sure.
Right, exactly. Let's see. Groups the council has advised include coordinators of an affordable housing strategy, the Provincial Association of Sexual Assault Services, and even the Provincial Assisted Suicide Framework. Website with a list of publications, nor links from the annual reports describing the advice provided. And I should clarify here that there are links to the annual reports, but in the annual reports, it does not say what advice was provided. So we don't even know what these people said on the, assisted dying question.
So very, very democratic.
Right. It may be that if I found my way to the site for the testimony on assisted dying, I'd find it, but they don't
Who
put out.
nominate those 15 volunteers?
Right. They're usually nominated by the Health and Human Services kind of department. So
the government could pull the string and name whatever people you want to go there.
Right.
Okay.
The council also coordinates events for the International Day of Persons with Disabilities and annual awards for disability leaders. Ruby. That's, basically publicity stunts. And so it seems like they do publicity stuff. What's that, Taylor?
Sorry, token representation.
Yeah, basically. So they do some publicity and they do some policy advice, but we don't know what that policy advice is because they don't put the information out. So it seems like a kind of not very helpful group. Okay, that's it for that subject. Did you want to add anything, Taylor?
No, that was everything.
Okay. The next topic is the second interim report on medical aid and dying in Canada is released. On October 6th, Health Canada's second interim report on medical assistance in dying was published. It adds statistics from January to June 2017 to the earlier report, which covered the period from June to December 2016.
So 6 months.
Right, but it also it covered the Quebec numbers from December 15 to June 2016 as well.
Okay.
At least in some senses. It didn't cover all of the information.
And in Quebec, it doesn't cover the palliative.
Right. Quebec doesn't report the number of continuous palliative sedations.
Yeah, the problem is not palliative sedation. The problem is continuous.
Right.
That's the word who just is bothering the thing.
Right. Okay. 1,179 people died between January and June 2017, bringing the total deaths in Canada to 2,149 since the Quebec program launched
A
in
little
December.
bit more than they tell us when they vote the law.
Right.
A little more, just 2,000 more.
Yeah, exactly. All but 5 of these died by euthanasia. The January to June numbers, that's the other thing. Only 5 people selected assisted suicide, where they actually did the act that ended their lives. The rest of the people wanted the doctor to do the act. And there's a couple ways to look at that. One is that they want somebody else to take responsibility, and they're looking for society to approve what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
the 5 may really want to die for one reason or another, but the others, all the others, the vast majority of the others, doesn't want to kill themselves really.
Well, they don't want to kill themselves. No, they want somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Let's see. The January to June numbers represent 0.9% of deaths across Canada, so almost 1%. This is more than the most recent percentages available for Oregon, 0.37%, but less than the numbers for Belgium, 1.83%, and the Netherlands, 3.75%.
Yeah, but if you look at the number, the way it's growing here, we will reach those numbers very, very fast.
Yeah.
The report is only for 6 months.
Right. The number of deaths increased by 46.8%
in 6 months
compared to the first report.
Ow!
803 people died during the first period.
It was very, very high, and now it's 50% higher.
Right.
For 6 months. Look at the way it's growing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And, it's funny because right now in Australia, the Victoria Parliament is considering this, and the lower house voted for the assisted suicide bill.
For 50%.
Right, and they're saying it's only going to be about 50 people a year who have.
Yeah, we heard that one before.
Yeah. We know
what
that
is,
go ahead.
Sorry, what is Victoria's population compared to all of Canada? Do we know?
I don't know. It's probably equal to a province.
Yeah, Victoria is one province in Australia, and Australia is plus or minus half the population of Canada.
Right. So it's comparable to one of our smaller provinces, I would say.
Yeah.
Let's see. We know the average age, of people who died by euthanasia is 73 years during this most recent report.
Which is the average dying age for Canadian.
Well,
For men, at least.
I'm not sure. I don't,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
very close to that.
I don't know what it is, so I don't think we should say anything on that. Cancer was the most frequently cited underlying health issue, followed by neurodegenerative conditions. Over 80% of the deaths took place in hospitals or homes. And the number of women versus men is about the same. There were slightly more women last year and slightly more men this year. So that changed places. The more important information is what's missing. And once again, quite a bit has been left out. There is no data for the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut.
How could you manage a law without data?
Right.
Survey it and make sure that it's applied well.
They have the data, but they don't report it because supposedly there's so few, it might violate people's confidentiality. Okay. Neither Ontario nor British Columbia, the two provinces with the largest number of assisted suicide and euthanasia deaths, reported how many requests for assisted suicide were received and how many were refused.
So we miss against a lot of very interesting and normal data to get to manage a law.
Right, exactly, because if we're trying to understand the success of safeguards, whether they're effective, we need to know how many requests were accepted and how many were denied.
Whatever management you have to do, you have to measure an objective and to look the success or the failure of it. If we don't have data, we fail the management of the law.
Right, exactly. As well, Health Canada did not include information about people who received court permission for euthanasia before the law came into force in June of 2016. And that's kind of old news, but I think it's still important because there were a lot of people who got court permission, and it's just another way in which they're not giving up the information about how many people have died. They can't say that they have a certain number and then leave out populations.
Part of the data.
Right, exactly. There is no information about the living situation or other circumstances of the people who were killed, only the location where euthanasia took place. Did people have pain relief and supports they needed to live well at home? Was anyone pressured to die? Were all safeguards followed? We have no way to know.
No data again. No way to measure the efficiency of this law.
Right, exactly. More information is supposed to be available once a monitoring system is in place.
Okay, we just apply the law and let it go anywhere before putting the verification system.
Right, apply the law without regulations. And then maybe, we'll get around to doing regulations. They were supposed to have come out with draft regulations last summer. They didn't. Now they're saying this winter, and they'll be in effect by spring. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if that works. But,
People all in the meantime.
By that point, the program will have been underway for a year and a half before they even get the monitoring program up and running. So that's a little bizarre.
Yep, that's a minimum to say about it.
Right. Future reports under the system should include a broader set of data, a statistical overview of all requests and their outcomes, medical and demographic information, and information about eligibility criteria and safeguards were followed. But the information they're collecting doesn't seem to indicate they're going to have that information. So they'll have to start collecting more data or something is not going to work.
Yeah, that's true. Ask to anybody who is a scientist, they will tell you have to define an objective, you have to make measurement of it, and take the conclusion over those data collection.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, you fail.
Did you want to add anything, Taylor?
I just wanted to mention that I don't have much hope for the section that says whether the safeguards are followed.
Yeah.
Because if a rule was not followed, how would the government know? How and why would anyone want to say anything?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, people who fail those things just don't have to report, and that's it.
Right, the doctors aren't going to report violating the law.
Yeah. Oh, sir, I'm violating the law. You're running to the policeman, say, hey, sir, I have done some, I'm passing on a red light, you know, a days ago. Nobody do that.
Yeah. Okay. For more information about the subjects we discuss here, you can visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/toujours vivant, not dead yet, all one word. You can visit our website at tvndy.ca, and Taylor's done a lot of work on our website, so definitely go over there and visit, because it's got some great information.
It's worth it, yeah.
Great information. You can email us at info@tv-ndy.ca, or you can follow us on Twitter @TVNDY. Thanks for Christian and Taylor for helping out today. We will not be here next week, but we will be back after that.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.